Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into something pretty fascinating. iBlooming, they're this organization, and their goal is to kind of make personalized learning a reality for everyone. And they're using some serious high tech to do it. And get this, they even want to launch something called a global learning movement. We got the proposal right here. DIS 20 proposal 2020.kt24.pdf. And it's definitely not your typical boring business plan, let me tell you. We're talking AI-powered translation to break down language barriers and learning paths that are tailored just for you. Remember how you were saying you wished you could learn topic listeners interested in without having to go through all the irrelevant stuff? Well, iBlooming might just be what you've been waiting for. So today we're going to really unpack what iBlooming is all about, what makes them stand out, and why it matters to you. Ready to dive in?
You know what I find really interesting is how iBlooming doesn't just throw technology at a problem and hope it sticks. Their vision statement really highlights this, empowering everyone with positive, accurate, instant, and sustainable insights into personal profiling to elevate their standard of living. It's pretty powerful stuff. They're not just focused on education, they're thinking about how AI can be used to improve social interactions, cultural understanding, and even business. It's a pretty ambitious goal, building a more connected and positive world through personalized insights.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how are they actually going to do that? They keep mentioning this global learning movement, or GIM. What's that all about?
GYM is their flagship initiative, and it's all about making education accessible to everyone, no matter where you are or what your background is. They're even aligning their efforts with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which shows they're thinking about impact on a global scale.
I've always been interested in those sustainable development goals, but sometimes they feel so abstract. It's cool to see how iBlooming is trying to actually connect them to something real like education.
Absolutely. And their approach to achieving those goals, that's where things get really interesting. They've developed two key things that set them apart, IBTI and iMatrix. Now, I know those names might sound a little sci-fi, but trust me, they're pretty groundbreaking.
All right, you've got me hooked. Tell me more. What are IBTI and iMatrix all about?
Well, let's start with IBTI. It stands for AI-powered translation technology. Imagine a world where language is no longer a barrier to learning. This technology could potentially translate educational content into any language in real time.
Wait, real time?
Yeah.
So you're telling me I could be watching a lecture in, let's say, Mandarin, and IBTI would translate it for me, like right there as it's happening.
Huh?
That's insane. Think of all the possibilities, learning from experts around the world, connecting with people from different cultures.
Exactly, and that's just the beginning. The other big thing they've developed, iMatrix, is all about personalization. It's an AI learner profiling system that analyzes your learning style, your strengths, your weaknesses, and then tailors the content just for you.
Okay, so it's like having a personal tutor built into the platform.
Yeah.
No more generic one-size-fits-all courses.
Exactly. iMatrix could be a game changer, especially for learners who haven't done well with traditional education methods or who have specific learning needs. It could even help educators provide more targeted support to their students.
That makes a lot of sense. I remember you telling me about your experience trying to learn topic listeners struggled with and how frustrating it was to find resources that actually worked for you. iMatrix could have been a huge help back then.
Absolutely. And what's really exciting is how these two technologies work together. Imagine accessing a course taught by a leading expert in, let's say, Japan, and having it translated for you in real time, while iMatrix is making sure the content is exactly what you need.
Okay, now you're just showing off. But seriously, that's a pretty compelling vision. So how does iBlooming actually deliver on this promise of personalized, accessible learning? What's it actually like to learn on this platform?
Well, they've outlined 7 key features that make learning on their platform intelligent and inclusive. And these features are all designed to support that personalized approach we were talking about.
7 features, huh? All right, let's break those down one by one. What's the first one?
First up is, of course, personalized learning, which is powered by iMatrix. We've already talked about how this system tailors your learning path to you, so you're not wasting time on stuff that's not relevant.
Right, so it's all about making learning more efficient and engaging. What's next?
The second feature is accessibility, which is where IBTA really shines. AI translation breaks down those language barriers, but they also want to make sure the materials are culturally relevant. They want to make sure the content actually resonates with learners from all different backgrounds.
That's really important. It's not just about translating words, it's about understanding the culture behind them and making sure everyone feels included.
Exactly. And speaking of content, that's their third key feature. High quality content. They really emphasize expert-led courses across a wide range of subjects, from technical skills to personal development. So, no matter what you're interested in, there's probably something for you.
So it's not just about having a lot of content, it's about having good content. Content from people who know what they're talking about. That's pretty impressive. What else is there?
Well, the fourth feature is all about engagement. They understand that people learn best when they're actually involved. So they've got interactive tools, quizzes, simulations, and even gamified modules to keep you engaged.
Ah, gamification. You know, I love a good educational game. It's such a great way to make learning fun and rewarding.
And it's not just about learning by yourself. They also encourage people to connect with others through their fifth feature, global connections. They want to connect learners with peers and educators from around the world, creating a global learning network.
That's a really cool idea. Imagine connecting with people from all over the world who share your interests and your learning goals.
Absolutely. And to make sure you're not just learning for the sake of learning, their sixth feature focuses on career advancement. They offer courses that can help you develop skills that are in demand, which can lead to better job opportunities and career growth.
So it's not just about learning for fun. It's about learning skills that can help you succeed in your career. That's smart. What's the last feature?
The seventh and final feature is support and feedback. They know that learners need guidance and encouragement, so they provide access to AI coaches and performance analytics to help you stay on track.
That's a nice touch. It's like having a built-in support system. But who's actually making all this amazing content? Where did the courses come from?
That's where their network of channel providers comes in. Think of them as the content creators, the experts who are developing and delivering the courses on iBlooming.
Oh, okay. So they're partnering with experts in different fields to create a library of courses. That makes sense. But what's in it for the channel providers? Why would they want to be a part of this?
Well, for starters, it gives them a global platform to share their expertise and reach a much wider audience than they could on their own. They also get to be part of this innovative learning community and contribute to iBlooming's mission of making education accessible to everyone.
That's a pretty good deal. So it's a win-win. Channel providers get to share their knowledge with the world, and learners get access to amazing content from top experts.
Exactly. And to give you a better idea of what these programs look like, let's look at two examples. I Learn Money and I Learn Entrepreneur.
Okay, tell me more about this.
I Learn Money is a weekly program that focuses on financial literacy for everyone. It covers practical things like budgeting, saving, investing, and managing debt.
You know, financial literacy is something I've always wanted to get better at. It's great that they have a program that makes it easy to understand. What about I Learn Entrepreneur?
Like the name suggests, it's aimed at helping aspiring entrepreneurs, small businesses, and startups. They cover topics like developing a business mindset, understanding business processes, seeking funding, and developing growth strategies.
That's fantastic. Sounds like they're really giving people the tools they need to succeed. But how do these programs fit into iBlooming's overall goals? What are they aiming for in the long term?
They've outlined 5 strategic objectives. First and foremost, they're all about promoting lifelong learning.
I love that. In today's world, learning doesn't stop when you graduate. You got to keep learning and adapting to stay relevant.
Exactly. And their second objective builds on that idea, empowering individuals through education. They understand that knowledge is power and that education can help people improve their lives and their communities.
So it's not just about knowing stuff for the sake of it. It's about using that knowledge to create a better life for yourself and the people around you.
Their third objective focuses on bridging those global learning gaps, using technology to connect learners with the best educators no matter where they are.
That's a big one. We've talked about how technology can connect people across the world, but it's great to see that they're actively working to make sure everyone has equal access to education.
Their fourth objective is about making sure everyone has access to knowledge. So no matter your background, you have access to quality learning resources.
That's really important. Education shouldn't be something only rich people can afford. It should be for everyone.
And finally, their fifth objective is about making sustainability a core part of their education framework, inspiring learners to make a positive impact on their communities and the environment.
I like that they're thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And encouraging people to use what they learn to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And to achieve these ambitious goals, iBlooming is looking to partner with governments, educational institutions, and businesses. They know that working together is key to making a real difference.
It's amazing how much thought they're putting into this. It's not just about creating a website or an app.
Yeah.
They're creating a movement.
And a big part of that movement, is their commitment to aligning with global goals for sustainable development. Their Global Learning Movement, or GIM, is directly aligned with several of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which shows how committed they are to a sustainable future.
Okay, we talked about those goals earlier, but can you tell me more about how iBlooming's gym model actually supports them? Let's start with SPG 4, quality education. How are they contributing to that?
GIM directly supports SDG4 by providing affordable AI-powered learning opportunities, making sure everyone can access a quality education. They're also encouraging lifelong learning through personalized content and interactive ways of learning, so no one is left behind no matter who they are or where they come from.
That's fantastic. But education is just one piece of the puzzle. What about SDG 5? Gender equality. How does iBlooming address that?
GIM actively supports SDG 5 by offering specific programs like I Learn Entrepreneurship, which helps women and marginalized groups get the skills and knowledge they need to fully participate in the economy. They know that empowering women is not just about fairness, it's crucial for economic growth and development.
That's so important. It's not just about giving people information. It's about giving them the tools they need to build a better future for themselves and their communities. Now, what about SDG 8? Decent work and economic growth. How does GIM contribute to that?
Jim understands that education is key for economic growth. By focusing on things like financial literacy, business processes, and investment strategies, they're helping communities create jobs and become financially resilient, which directly contributes to SDG 8. They're not just talking about economic growth in theory, they're giving people the practical skills they need to succeed in the real world.
This is really inspiring. They're taking a holistic approach, tackling all these interconnected challenges through education. Now, what about SDG 10? Reduced inequalities. How does iBlooming fit into that?
iBlooming is really dedicated to reducing inequalities through education. Their GYM model focuses on inclusive education, making sure that people from all backgrounds have access to learning resources and professional development opportunities. This fits perfectly with SDG 10, which is all about reducing inequalities within and between countries.
Wow, they're really covering all the bases.
Mhm.
It's clear that iBlooming is about more than just making money. They genuinely want to make a positive impact. So we've talked a lot about iBlooming, from their big vision to their use of AI to their commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. What stands out to you the most? What are your first impressions of iBlooming and their mission?
What impresses me most is their holistic approach. They're not just focusing on one part of education or one specific problem. They're looking at all these global challenges and using education to make a positive change across multiple dimensions. They're combining technology with a deep understanding of what people need and what they want. It's pretty remarkable.
I agree. They're painting a picture of a future where everyone has a right to education, where language isn't a barrier, and where technology helps people and brings them together. It's a really exciting vision, and it makes me wonder, what role could platforms like iBlooming play in shaping the future of work and education for everyone? But that's a conversation we'll have to continue in part 2 of our deep dive into iBlooming. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into iBlooming. Before we move on, I think we should highlight one more thing from their proposal. It really stood out to me, their commitment to partnerships.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We didn't really get to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying how important collaboration is for tackling these big challenges, especially in education. It's not something one organization can solve on its own.
Exactly. You need everyone on board.
Yeah.
And the proposal actually mentions building partnerships with governments, institutions, and businesses. It's not just about sharing knowledge, it's about creating a whole system that supports their mission.
So it's like they're building this network where everyone is invested in making education better.
Precisely. This network effect is crucial for creating a truly global learning movement, It's not just about iBlooming as an organization, it's about everyone working together. You know what they say? A rising tide lifts all boats.
I like that analogy. It shows how connected everything is. But I'm also kind of curious about the practical stuff. How do these partnerships actually work? What do they look like in real life?
Well, the proposal outlines different types of partnerships. For example, they're working with governments to integrate iBlooming into national education systems, especially in places where it's hard to get a good education.
That's incredible. Think of the impact that could have in those regions where they don't have the same resources. It could be life-changing for so many students.
They're also partnering up with institutions like universities and research centers to develop cutting-edge content and tap into their expertise.
So it's not just iBlooming creating all the content. They're working with people who are already experts in their fields.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're also collaborating with businesses to create programs specifically for their employees, upskilling programs to make sure their workforce has the right skills for the future.
That's smart. You've talked before about how companies need to invest in their employees, and it
Yeah.
sounds like iBlooming is giving them a way to do that.
Exactly. And this focus on partnerships also applies to their technology. Remember when we talked about open source principles?
Wait, open source, isn't that usually for software?
Yeah, traditionally.
Yeah.
But iBlooming is applying that to education. They believe knowledge should be accessible to everyone. And that collaboration is key for innovation.
So does that mean they're giving away all their stuff for free?
Not everything, but they're embracing the idea of transparency, collaboration, and community-driven development. They want others to help build the platform, to improve upon what they've already created, and adapt their solutions to different contexts.
That's a bold move. Like they're saying, we don't have all the answers, but let's work together to find them.
Precisely. And this open approach is key for making sure their solutions are relevant and sustainable. By inviting others to join in, they're creating a sense of ownership and building a movement that's bigger than any one organization.
It's like they're planting a seed and then creating a whole ecosystem around it to help it grow.
I couldn't agree more. And this approach also shows up in their commitment to accessibility. Remember we talked about IBTI and how it could break down language barriers?
Yeah, the AI translation thing, it was pretty mind-blowing to think I could learn from someone speaking any language.
Well, they're not stopping there. They're also committed to providing subtitles and transcripts for everything to make it accessible for people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
That's amazing. They're really thinking about inclusivity. It's not just about making education accessible to more people. It's about making it accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And they're also developing features for people with visual impairments, like screen readers and descriptions for images and videos.
Wow, they really have thought of everything. It's clear that they're really committed to creating an inclusive learning environment. But let's switch gears for a minute and talk about the learners themselves. How does all of this translate into real benefits for the people using the platform?
That's a great question. From what we've seen in their proposal, iBlooming offers a lot of benefits to learners, no matter their background, location, or learning goals.
Okay, let's break it down. What are some of the key advantages for people using iBlooming?
First of all, iBlooming gives you access to a ton of high-quality learning content. We've already talked about their expert-led courses on all sorts of subjects, from tech skills to professional development.
Right, and they're constantly updating their content to keep up with the latest trends and advancements. So it's not just about learning, it's about staying ahead of the game, which is super important for career growth and personal development.
Absolutely. And beyond the content itself, iBlooming offers a really personalized and engaging learning experience. Remember how we talked about iMatrix, their AI-powered personalization system?
Of course, the system that tailors your learning to your specific needs. But how does that actually work for the learner?
Well, imagine this. You log into iBlooming, and the system already knows how you learn best, your strengths, your weaknesses. It recommends courses and resources that are perfect for you. And as you go through the content, the system adapts to your pace and gives you support and feedback along the way.
That's pretty amazing. It's like having your own personal tutor who's always available.
Exactly. And this level of personalization makes learning more effective, but it also makes it more enjoyable and motivating.
I can see how that would be a game changer, especially for people who haven't had good experiences with traditional learning. Like when you're trying to learn a topic listeners struggled with.
Exactly. iBlooming is all about creating a learning experience that works for everyone, no matter your background. And it's not just about individualized learning either. They also emphasize community and collaboration.
Ray, you mentioned that they're creating this global learning community. What does that actually look like on the platform?
They've created a space where learners can connect with each other, with mentors and experts from around the world. It's not just about watching videos or reading articles. It's about talking to people, sharing ideas, and learning from each other.
That's fantastic. It's like a virtual campus where everyone can learn together.
Exactly. And this community aspect extends to the channel providers, too. Remember how we talked about how they bring their expertise to the platform?
Yeah, they create this whole ecosystem of knowledge.
Well, they also play a big role in building that community and supporting learners. Many channel providers offer live sessions, Q&A forums, and personalized feedback, which makes learning more interactive and engaging.
So it's not just about watching pre-recorded videos. You actually get to interact with real people who can answer your questions and help you along the way.
Exactly. And that personal touch is really important for creating a sense of connection, which is so important for staying motivated and successful in your learning. It's like they're combining the best of online learning with the benefits of a traditional classroom, creating a hybrid model that's flexible and supportive.
That's a great way to put it. And this approach seems perfect for lifelong learning, which is one of iBlooming's main goals.
Right. They understand that learning doesn't stop after school. It's something you do your whole life.
Exactly.
And their platform is built for that. It offers flexible options, from self-paced courses to live sessions, so you can learn at your own speed and fit it into your life.
So it's not about trying to fit into a strict schedule. It's about making learning work for you.
Exactly. And this flexibility is what makes lifelong learning possible for so many people. It's like they're changing not just what we learn, but how we learn.
It's a good point. It's about giving people the power to learn in a way that works for them. But what about the companies that are using iBlooming for their employees?
Oh, right. We haven't talked much about that.
They're working with companies to provide those upskilling and professional development opportunities, which are so important these days.
Absolutely. And iBlooming is a cost-effective and efficient way for companies to upskill their employees and stay competitive. It's a win-win. The employees learn new skills, and the company benefits from a stronger workforce.
Right, so it's not just about individual benefits, it's about how this can benefit the whole company and even society as a whole.
Exactly. And this focus on workplace learning shows how committed iBlooming is to preparing people for the future of work. Technology is changing everything, and platforms like iBlooming will be essential in helping people and companies adapt.
It's not just about learning specific skills anymore, it's about being willing to learn and adapt throughout your career.
Exactly. And iBlooming is fostering that mindset by giving learners the tools and support they need to succeed in a constantly changing world.
It's like they're giving people a map and compass to navigate the future of work.
I like that. And this feeling of empowerment is at the core of what iBlooming does. They're not just giving you information, they're giving you the power to control your learning, your career, your life.
I'm seriously impressed by their vision. They're not just focusing on one problem. They're tackling all these interconnected challenges: education, technology, the future of work.
And they're doing it with a global perspective. They understand these are global challenges that need global solutions.
It's really inspiring. They're not just talking about making a difference, they're actually doing it.
Absolutely. But all of this raises a question. How do they plan to make all of this happen? How do they make it work financially?
That's a good question. We haven't talked about their business model yet, or how they plan to make money to support their mission.
Yeah, that's important. Sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's about being able to keep the lights on and keep growing.
So how does iBlooming plan to balance their social mission with their financial goals?
Well, they have a multifaceted approach, combining different revenue streams.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the key parts of their business model?
One of their main sources of revenue comes from those partnerships we talked about. Remember how they're working with businesses and institutions to provide those upskilling and development programs?
Yeah, it sounds like those partnerships are bringing in some money.
Exactly. Companies pay for access to the iBlooming platform, to their huge library of learning content, and for customized training programs.
So it's like a business-to-business model. They're providing a service to businesses, and those businesses are helping support iBlooming's mission.
Precisely. And in addition to that, they also have a business-to-consumer component where individual learners can subscribe to the platform.
Right, we mentioned that learners can buy individual courses or get a monthly or annual subscription.
Exactly. So they're reaching a wider audience and bringing in money from different places.
That's a good strategy. They're appealing to both individuals and businesses.
And it's not just about making money, it's about using that money to make a positive impact.
We talked about how iBlooming is aligned with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. But how does their business model actually contribute to those goals?
Well, some of the money they make goes directly to their global learning movement initiatives.
Right, GEM, which aims to make education accessible globally.
Exactly. By putting some of their profits into GEM, iBlooming is connecting their financial success with their social impact.
So they're not just focused on profits. They're actually using their success to make a difference.
Exactly. And this commitment to social impact is also reflected in their pricing.
We
They offer different pricing options, so people from all backgrounds can access their platform.
So people who can afford to pay more help support those who can't.
Exactly. And they also offer scholarships and financial aid to learners from disadvantaged communities.
That's fantastic. It really shows their commitment to inclusivity. They truly believe that education is a right, not a privilege.
Absolutely. And they're also looking into new and creative ways to fund education, especially in areas where people don't have a lot of resources.
It's like what? I'm always interested in new ways to support education.
They're experimenting with things like microloan programs and community-based funding models, so learners can invest in their own education and break down those financial barriers.
That's a really innovative approach.
It's about sharing responsibility and empowering communities.
iBlooming's approach to sustainability is really impressive. They're not just thinking about money. They're thinking about social impact and making education accessible for everyone.
It's a great example of how businesses can be a force for good. It shows that you can be successful and make a positive difference in the world.
I agree. They're setting an example for other organizations, proving that you can do well by doing good.
And I think it's this blend of ambition, innovation, and social responsibility that makes iBlooming so interesting. They're not just offering a product or a service, they're offering a vision for a better future. A future where education unlocks human potential and helps create a more just and sustainable world.
That's a great way to put it. We've talked about so much. From IBTA to iMatrix to their partnerships and their social impact. iBlooming seems like they're really going all out to transform education.
They definitely are. And they have everything they need to make a real impact.
You're right. But with all this talk about revolutionizing education and preparing for the future, I can't help but wonder, what does it all mean for the big picture? How could iBlooming's approach to education and technology really change the way we learn, work, and live?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into iBlooming. We've learned so much about their vision, their tech, like everything. But now I'm kind of curious about the bigger picture, How could iBlooming actually change how we learn, how we work, and even how we live?
Right, that's the real question, isn't it? We've talked about the details of their platform, but what happens if it actually works? What could the long-term impact be?
Exactly. They're saying they want to make education accessible to everyone. To prepare people for jobs that don't even exist yet, it's exciting, but also a little scary to think about.
I know what you mean. It's easy to get caught up in all the tech stuff, but we gotta zoom out and think about what this could mean down the road. First off, I think they could really make a difference in making education fair. Remember how you were saying you couldn't find the right resources for topic listeners struggled with? Imagine if those barriers were gone, if anyone could learn anything from anywhere.
Wow, yeah, that would be amazing. We always say the education is the key, but so many people can't even get to the door. And it's not just about making what's already there easier to get to. iBlooming wants to prepare people for the future of work, which is changing all the time, right?
Exactly. The old ways just don't work anymore. We're already seeing how automation and AI are changing jobs, and that's going to keep happening.
So is iBlooming saying we all need to learn to code or become AI experts or something?
Not really. It's more about being able to learn new things. To be adaptable, that's going to be the key. Think of it this way. iBlooming is like giving you the tools and the map, but it's up to you to decide where you want to go.
That's a lot of responsibility, huh?
Mm.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary.
It is, but that's the world we live in now. You can't just wait for someone to tell you what to learn anymore.
So they give you the tools, but you decide the path.
Exactly, and that brings up another interesting point. What about all the schools and universities? How will this affect them?
Whoa, yeah. Are colleges going to disappear?
I don't think so. But they'll have to change, for sure. Platforms like iBlooming are offering something different. It's more flexible, more personalized, and more affordable, especially for people who just want specific skills or want to keep learning after college.
So it's not about getting rid of schools. It's about having different options, right?
Exactly, and that's a good thing. It gives people more choices and it pushes those institutions to do better.
But what about the impact on society as a whole?
Yeah.
If everyone have access to education, what could that mean for communities?
That's a great question. Just imagine a whole generation of people who can learn anything they want, adapt to any challenge, connect with people from all over the world. That could lead to a more informed, engaged, and stronger society.
That's a really hopeful vision. But we have to be realistic too, right? Technology isn't always a good thing.
Of course, there are always downsides. One big concern is jobs. What happens when robots and AI start doing more of our work?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Even if people are learning new skills, what happens to the people whose jobs are taken over by technology?
Exactly. We need to make sure people have support, And then there's the issue of access to technology.
Right, not everyone has a computer or good internet. iBlooming can't help people if they can't even get online.
That's true. These are tough problems that need bigger solutions, but we can't ignore them when we're talking about the future of education.
So it's not as simple as technology fixes everything. We need to be smart about how we use it.
Absolutely. Technology is a tool. It's up to us to use it to make the world better.
I like that it reminds us that we're in control. This has been an amazing deep dive. We've talked about iBlooming's vision, their tech, everything. So what's your final takeaway? What do you want our listeners to think about?
I hope they're excited about the possibilities, but also ready to think critically about technology. iBlooming is just one example of how technology is changing education, but it reminds us that we all have a part to play in shaping the future.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into iBlooming. Go check out their website, see what they're all about, and most importantly, keep learning.